Hi, it's Steve Major, MD Yogi. Hoping you're having a good day. Um, Today's topic is time and impermanence. Um, as I state I start with all my videos, if you're in crisis and you need some help, please reach out for help to your local crisis line, your emergency department, or a healthcare professional. The reason I'm talking about time and impermanence is because I think it's important for us to understand that we always feel like we have more time than we do. And time is something that we all struggle with. I'm a parent with children. I have a very busy job as a family physician. And understanding that time is limited and how do we juggle all the things we're doing and try to make sure we have an engaged life. I think for me, over the past 4 or 5 years, what I've learned is that the most valuable thing I can do is slow down. I think for me, there was many years where I was always thinking about what I was doing next, and in the process of thinking about what I was doing next, I really wasn't present with what I'm doing right now. So time wasn't really utilized in a way that was absorbed. I don't have good recollection of a lot of the things that I did because I was always thinking about what I was doing next rather than just being immersed in what I was doing at the present. So in that time, whatever time you have, I think it's actually more appreciated when you slow down and breathe. You know, we always think we have more time than we do, and I've worked in emergency for 15 years or more and seen a lot of tragic situations, and in those tragic situations the person who passed away never thought that they were near death. And when I say tragic, car accidents, all sorts of types of accidents that have happened, so those people had no time of preparation for that event. And I think understanding that whatever time you have here is very precious, thinking about if your time is precious, what are you doing today that gives you that meaning or that fulfillment? And if you're not spending time doing what would give you meaning and fulfillment, then what are you doing? Why are you stuck in a situation that doesn't serve you? Now, there are times we are stuck in situations where we have to work a job until we can get to the other end. I went through medical school, and when you're in medical school, you have to go through residency. Residency is very stressful, long hours, very hard work, but it's understanding that you have to get through that process to get to the end. And so sometimes I do understand that there's times where you have to get through a process to get to an end point, and that's normal. But the understanding we have about time is that I think I'll have more time. Well, I'll do that later because I'll have more time, or I'll visit that relative when I can, and then they're not there to visit. So I think making some choices of what's meaningful and what's important to you, and valuing your time. People say to me they don't have enough time, but I look at what we do in terms of our time, and even for myself, there's a lot of waste of time. And wasted time could be watching TV, watching the news that I have no control over. In terms of the events of the day, I don't have any control of those events. Watching Netflix, there's a lot of things that I could do other than watching TV. That's just an example. And so I think thinking about your time as precious, but in that preciousness, thinking about how do I slow down and enjoy that time. There's an impermanence we have that we don't know from the day we're born till when we die how long we have. Maybe it would be easier if we knew that we only had 30 years. Maybe I'd live my life differently than if I knew I had 70 years or 90 years. And I think sometimes we have that expectation we're going to have, I'll do it later, and I'll do it later, and we don't have that additional time. Birth is by nature a fatal condition, and we're all born and we're all eventually going to die. And so time to me is understanding your mortality, understanding that we're all here for a limited amount of time. How do I take this precious gift of life and have some fulfillment through that process? But there's no death is an equalizer. There's just no matter if you're rich or poor, nobody is immortal in this present world that we live in. So understanding that in the sense of, if time is finite, the time I have here in this present, in this present form is finite. How do I utilize the time that I have in a meaningful way? And that's only something you can do if you think about what's meaningful to you, if you think about what's important to you, and think about all the things that you want to do on a day-to-day basis, and ask yourself, is it really important that I do this, or should I be doing something else instead? So again, all my topics are about trying to challenge you as an individual to think about what's important to you, what's valuable in your life, and how do you take that gift of life to have the existence that you want in whatever form and shape that may take. The impermanence is that who I am today and who I am tomorrow is different. I wake up, the cells in my body have changed. There's cells that are continuously dying and changing. We're all in a state of flux. And in that process of understanding that impermanence, understanding that there's fluctuations in life that happen that we may have no control over. And so still coming back to, in the sense of time, how do I focus on, how do I control my time, in terms of, there are realities. If I have to work, I have to pay my bills, I have to help my kids get to school and back from school. There's things that are realities of time, but look at the time that's in between and see, is there something that serves you? What are you doing to nurture yourself and take care of yourself? For myself, I remember a couple of years ago being on a yoga retreat and having a sense of a really deep peace, and I think a sense of feeling like I've lived, I've had a good life. And I can't say that I've held on to that feeling, but it was amazing to feel like I've lived, the opportunities I've had have been fantastic, and the opportunity to help people, the opportunity to live in a meaningful way has fulfilled me. And now everything after this is icing. It doesn't mean that I don't want to live to be older. It doesn't mean I don't want to have more life. But that sense of peace that came at that point in my life was something that I cherish, understanding in my mortality that if the time comes, when the time comes for me, that I can embrace my mortality and my life and say, I had a good life. I'm hoping that if you're not in that space, that you can cultivate a process or a path that can give you that sense of peace, if that's what you want. Whatever you desire in your life, it should be what drives you. But understanding that time is precious, and how we take care of the time, the limited time we have here, is something that we should be reflective on, understand for ourselves, and not squander the time that we have here on this precious planet. I'm open to feedback if you feel this is helpful to you, and as I always say, you've got this. Take care. In keeping with the theme for time, this is a song by the Knocks from their album 55, which is a really great album if you want to listen to some different music, and hopefully enjoy this one.
You were born into the rhythm, laminated by the sound of a billion voices on the merry-go-round. Right. There's too much information to know that love is free. It comes in every color, so go make a masterpiece, masterpiece.
remember, use all the time you have to good use and get up and do some dancing. Have a great day.